Imagine walking through a cave and looking up, only to realize there are clouds above you, not outside, inside. Below those clouds, trees are growing. Sunlight pours through a vast opening in the ceiling, reaching a jungle deep beneath the surface. Somewhere below it, a river is still flowing through the darkness. This is Son Doong in central Vietnam. And the strangest part is not that a place like this exists. It is that one man found its entrance, lost it, and for years could not find it again. In December 1990, a local man named Hồ Khanh was moving through the forest when a storm forced him to look for shelter. He discovered an opening in the limestone. Wind came from the darkness inside, but he did not have the equipment or the reason to explore it. He left. Then he lost the entrance. The forest closed around the memory of where it had been. For years, Son Doong remained exactly where it had always been, beneath the mountains of what is now Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park. But there was no sign pointing toward it. No road, no structure, nothing that told anyone what was hidden below. And what was hidden there was enormous. Son Doong is nearly 9 kilometers long, with sections reaching roughly 200 meters high and more than 150 meters wide. Its measured volume is about 38.5 million cubic meters, large enough to place it among the most extraordinary cave passages ever documented. But Hồ Khanh did not know any of that when he first found the entrance. He only knew that something unusual was there. Years passed. Then, cave explorers working in the region began hearing about a mysterious entrance that local people had seen. Hồ Khanh remembered his discovery and began searching for it again. Finding it was not easy. The surrounding landscape is rugged karst terrain, covered by dense forest. A person can remember a mountain, a rock, or a path without being able to identify the exact place years later. Hồ Khanh kept looking. In 2008, he finally found the entrance again. This time, he remembered the route. And on April 7, 2009, he led the British-Vietnamese cave expedition team, headed by Howard Limbert, back to the opening. Peter MacNab was the first member of the expedition to step inside. What they found changed the story completely. The passage did not behave like the narrow underground tunnel most people imagine when they hear the word cave. It opened. Then it opened again. The ceiling rose hundreds of feet above them. The passage stretched onward. And somewhere in the darkness, a river was flowing. But the real surprise came when the explorers reached places where the roof had collapsed. These openings are known as dolines. They connected the underground environment with the surface above, allowing sunlight to enter. And once sunlight entered, something happened that would make Son Doong famous around the world. A forest grew inside the cave. Trees, vines, ferns, mosses, and other vegetation occupy sections beneath the collapsed ceiling. In some places, the boundary between underground cave and tropical forest almost disappears. You can stand beneath hundreds of feet of limestone and look upward toward daylight. The river remains below. The forest surrounds you. And the cave ceiling rises so far overhead that ordinary ideas about what a cave should look like begin to fail. Then there is the air. Son Doong is so enormous that its temperature, humidity, airflow, and openings to the surface interact on a scale unusual for a cave. Mist and cloud-like formations can appear inside the huge chambers. There is nothing supernatural about it. The physics are simply happening on an extraordinary scale. Warm, moisture-rich air and cooler air inside the cave can interact, producing condensation and mist under the right conditions. A cave does not normally have enough space for this kind of atmosphere to become so visible. Son Doong does. The same scale that allows sunlight to reach a jungle underground also allows the air inside to behave like a localized microclimate. But the expedition had not reached the end. Farther inside, the explorers encountered a massive calcite barrier. It rose roughly 90 meters and became known as the Great Wall of Vietnam. In 2009, the expedition reached it and stopped. They did not know what was beyond the wall. More importantly, they did not have the specialized equipment needed to climb it safely. So the first expedition turned around. For the explorers, the wall was the end of the journey. For Son Doong, it was not the end at all. It was simply an obstacle, and that difference would matter. In March 2010, the expedition returned with the equipment needed to climb the Great Wall. Two explorers, Gareth Sewell and Howard Clark, were among those who climbed it. They crossed the barrier and continued through the cave. Beyond the wall, Son Doong continued. The team eventually reached the exit and completed the measurements that established the cave's extraordinary overall dimensions. Nearly 9 kilometers of passage and approximately 38.5 million cubic meters of measured volume. The numbers were astonishing. But the discovery story was stranger than the numbers, because Son Doong had not been hidden behind an ancient civilization. It had not been sealed by a mysterious door. It had not required some impossible technology to reveal it. It was hidden by geography, dense forest, difficult terrain, a hard-to-relocate entrance, and a discovery that was never formally investigated when it was first reported. That is what makes the story so interesting. Son Doong was not invisible. It was undocumented. There is a difference. The wider Phong Nha Ke Bang region was already known for its extensive limestone karst and enormous cave systems. Yet one of the largest known cave passages on Earth was still outside the scientific record. The cave had been there for millions of years. The river had been there. The collapsed ceilings had been there. The forest had been growing beneath the openings. But nobody had yet created the measurements that would turn that hidden landscape into a documented scientific discovery. And even after the exploration, one important distinction remained. Discovering a cave is not the same as completely understanding it. Scientists can measure its major dimensions. They can map passages. They can study its river, geology, formations, and ecosystems. But scientific knowledge has boundaries. Where measurement ends, certainty ends. That is why words such as known, measured, and documented matter when describing Son Doong as the world's largest cave by volume. The claim refers to what has been measured and established. It does not mean that every hidden space beneath the surrounding landscape has been examined. And Son Doong itself has continued to reveal how difficult that complete understanding can be. Its underground river extends into places that are difficult to explore. In 2019, divers investigated an underwater passage in an attempt to determine whether the cave system connected farther into the surrounding karst. They reached depths beyond 70 meters, but could not fully explore the passage with their available equipment. Even here, the mystery is not imaginary. There is simply more that has not yet been measured. That is a very different kind of mystery. It does not require legends. It does not require lost civilizations. It only requires a physical place that is difficult to reach. And Son Doong is very difficult to reach. The cave lies deep inside a protected landscape, and access is tightly controlled because the environment is fragile. Tourism has been deliberately limited, and proposals for large-scale infrastructure such as a cable car have faced strong conservation concerns. The reason is simple. The features that make Son Doong extraordinary are also the features that can be damaged. Its river, its formations, its vegetation, its delicate underground environment. The more people enter, the greater the pressure to protect what they came to see. And so the cave remains something unusual. It is famous, it has been measured, it has been photographed, it has been mapped, yet it still represents a reminder of how incomplete our knowledge of the physical world can be. Millions of years of geology created Son Doong. Water carved through limestone. The roof collapsed in places. Sunlight entered. Vegetation followed. A river continued moving through the darkness, and for most of that history, there was no human observer. Then, in 1990, Hồ Khanh found an entrance. He lost it. Nearly 2 decades later, he found it again. And when explorers finally entered, they discovered that behind an ordinary-looking opening in the Vietnamese forest was a landscape large enough to contain a river, a jungle, enormous chambers, and its own localized atmospheric conditions. That is the part of Son Doong that is easiest to miss. The discovery was not really about finding something impossible. It was about discovering something that had been completely real the entire time. The cave did not suddenly become enormous in 2009. It had been enormous for millions of years. What changed was our knowledge of it. And perhaps that is the most unsettling lesson Son Doong leaves behind. The unknown does not always exist beyond the edge of the map. Sometimes it exists underneath a landscape we think we already understand. Sometimes the biggest discovery is not finding a new world. It is realizing that the world we already mapped was never completely known. Son Doong was there all along. We simply had not reached it yet. If you want more documentaries where real evidence leads to the mystery, subscribe to Obscura Atlas.